Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to Pakistan's National Day ceremony. Thank you so much for joining us online to celebrate the 81st National Day of Pakistan. It was on this day in 1940 that the Muslims of the Indian subcontinent decided to separate their homelands where they could live according to the golden principles of Islam. We are privileged for having been joined by the Honorable Minister of Education and Manpower, Her Excellency Madam Gan Tsiang Huang. We will commence the ceremony with recitation of the Holy Quran by Mr. Hashar Ali Gardezi.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد صدق الله العظيم.
Ladies and gentlemen, now the national anthems of Singapore and Pakistan will be played. Ladies and gentlemen, now we are presenting a vibrant and colorful national song of Pakistan.
वतन की मिट्टी गवाह रहना, गवाह रहना।
वतन की मिट्टी गवाह रहना, गवाह रहना।
वतन की मिट्टी अजीम है तू,
अजीम कर हम बना
तेरी दुआ से कज़ा तो बदल नहीं सकती, मगर है इससे ये मुमकिन कि तू बदल जाए। तेरी दुआ है कि हो तेरी आरज़ू पूरी, मेरी दुआ है तेरी आरज़ू बदल जाए।
खोल आँख, ज़मीं देख, फलक देख, फजा देख, इस जलवाए बेपर्दा को पर्दों में छुपा देख। बेताब ना हो, मारिकाए बीम और रजा देख, आईनाए अय्याम में आज अपनी अदा देख। है राग़िबे तकदीर जहां तेरी रज़ा देख।
इतने बड़े जीवन सागर में तूने पाकिस्तान दिया। हो अल्लाह, हो अल्लाह।
ओ इतने बड़े जीवन सागर में तूने पाकिस्तान दिया। हो अल्लाह, हो अल्लाह, हो अल्लाह, हो अल्लाह।
इतनी मुश्किल राह गुजर में,
इतनी मुश्किल राह गुजर में
हो इतने कठिन दुश्वार सफर में पढ़ने का अरमान दिया, तूने पाकिस्तान दिया।
I shall now invite the High Commissioner, Mrs. Ruxana Afzal, for her message for the National Day.
Excellency Madam Gan Xiao Huang, Minister of State for Education and Manpower, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for virtual celebration of Pakistan National Day today. First of all, I would like to wish a very happy National Day to our diaspora in Singapore. You are the real pride of Pakistan and a human bridge connecting Pakistan with Singapore. Pakistan wants to forge mutually beneficial relations with Singapore, not only on bilateral plane, but also in its capacity as a key member of ASEAN, of which Pakistan is a sectoral dialogue partner. Our bilateral relations have a huge scope to grow in diverse fields, especially in trade and investment domains. We greatly appreciate Singapore's technical cooperation program to learn from its unprecedented story of economic success. Pakistan High Commission is working closely with Singapore Business Federation to build a meaningful economic partnership between our two countries. We are keen to enhance Singapore's investment footprint in Pakistan and welcome its interest in our IT, housing, construction, tourism, SMEs and logistics, and agro-food sectors. China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, already in its second phase of development, offers lucrative incentives for investment in especially import substitution and technical technology-related fields. We are keen to expand and diversify our exports to Singapore and build close people-to-people and business-to-business relations between our two countries. When COVID-19 hit last year and Pakistan High Commission started a fundraising campaign led by our diaspora to procure the much-needed PPEs and test kits from Singapore, Temasek Foundation was the first to answer our call. It donated test kits, oxygenators, and surgical masks in large quantities to help the government of Pakistan combat the pandemic. TF's generous support was widely acknowledged and appreciated by the government of Pakistan by adding it in the Foreign Minister's honors list. Pakistan's participation in Singapore FinTech Festival opened up another chapter in our relations. One of our fintechs, CreditFix, who participated in both 2019 and 2020 festivals, laid the foundation of Pakistan FinTech Association. With 30 Pakistani fintechs on board, PFA has already signed a MOU with Singapore FinTech Association to further boost this partnership and encourage foreign investment in Pakistan's digital economy. We are also keen to learn from Singapore's technical and vocational training system to fill the skill gap of our workforce and benefit immensely from the recently signed MOU for cooperation between National Vocational and Technical Training Commission of Pakistan and Institute of Technical Education, Singapore. Prime Minister Imran Khan's meeting with Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong in Davos on the sidelines of World Economic Forum last year and his invitation to PM Lee to visit Pakistan will reinvigorate leadership-level interaction between Pakistan and Singapore and lay the ground for close cooperation between the two countries on bilateral and multilateral fora. Long live Pakistan-Singapore friendship. Thank you.
May I now invite the Minister of State of Education and Manpower, Her Excellency Madam Gan Siang Huang, to deliver her remarks on National Day of Pakistan.
Your Excellency Rukhsana Afzal, High Commissioner of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to join you today in celebration of Pakistan's 81st National Day. Singapore and Pakistan are long-standing friends. Whilst we established diplomatic relations 55 years ago in 1966, we share a history that dates back further. Pre-independent Singapore welcomed early settlers from what is modern-day Pakistan. Over the decades, many more Pakistanis have made this island their home and helped shape our country into what it is today, a vibrant, multi-ethnic and multicultural city-state. The last year has been a tough one for all countries due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic continues to affect our lives and livelihoods. We're still not yet out of the woods, as countries now turn their attention towards vaccinating their populations and reviving their economies. I'm encouraged to see that Pakistan is committed to undertaking reforms to bolster its fiscal resilience and stimulate economic recovery from the impact of COVID-19. The pandemic's global impact has shown us that recovery will require close cooperation with the international community. I'm heartened to note that we have continued to find ways to collaborate where we can and address some of these common challenges together. Amidst the pandemic, we have managed to find ways to enhance our linkages. At the end of last year, Pakistan's National Vocational and Technical Training Commission and Singapore's ITE Education Services concluded an MOU on Technical and Vocational Education and Training, or TVET. As Minister of State for Education and Manpower, this initiative is close to my heart. Singapore firmly believes in human resource development as a key to economic and social progress. TVET is a crucial vehicle for social equity, inclusion, and sustainable development. It is my hope that this MOU will present opportunities for us to mutually share our expertise and meet the needs of our current and future workforce. We see tremendous potential for more cooperation, which will boost both our economies. The advancement of digital economies has been unexpectedly accelerated by the pandemic, and fintech has emerged as a promising area of collaboration with Pakistan. With Pakistan High Commission's strong support, Pakistani fintech companies have been active participants in Singapore's FinTech Festival over the last 2 years. There are also opportunities in possible collaborations in areas such as food security, agricultural technology, shipping, and energy. On that note, please allow me to extend my most sincere congratulations on the occasion of Pakistan's 81st National Day. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Lahore is the second largest city in Pakistan and the capital of the Punjab province. It is world renowned not only for its rich culture and heritage, but also for the exuberant people, fabulous food, and the love for literature. It has recently been given the title of the City of Literature by UNESCO. Since we cannot take a trip down to Lahore, unfortunately, due to the pandemic, let me take you on a virtual tour to this beautiful city in Pakistan.
Lahore, a mural of history and a cultural hub of Pakistan. Years of living history, Lahore reached its zenith under the Mughal rulers.
लाहौर शहर को अगर सबसे ज़्यादा फ़ौक़ियत हासिल हुई है और सबसे ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंस मिली है तो वो मुग़ल अहद हुकूमत में हुई है। लाहौर शहर की एक मल्टी डायमेंशनल कॉस्मोपॉलिटन एक ये शहर है कि जिसके अंदर मुख्तलिफ़ कौमें आबाद हुई। इसका जो कल्चर है वो बड़ा यूनिक और नायाब कल्चर है।
The origin of Lahore is the walled or inner city, a very densely crammed populated area. 22,000 properties within 2.5 square kilometer. A 30-feet brick wall grew around the walled city with access gained through the 13 ancient gates known as Masti Gate, Kashmiri Gate, Sherawala Gate, Yakki Gate, Dehli Gate, Akbari Gate, Mochi Gate, Shahalmi Gate, Lahori Gate, Mori Gate, Bhati Gate, Taksali Gate and Roshnai Gate. Within these gates is a world of its own. Mosques and monuments, colorful bazaars, rich cuisine, arts, crafts and architecture amidst a maze of narrow winding streets. The walled city brings within the hustle bustle of life. From early dawn till very late in the night. The walled city virtually never goes to sleep.
Reading history is one thing, but experiencing history is another, which is much more livelier and interesting. Old City represents the best form of our living culture, its traditions and heritage.
Most important, if nations lose their identity, they become clueless. And instead of knowing about other cultures, it is first very important for your own people to know your own history, your own culture and your own heritage.
A variety of colourful bazaars like Akbari Mandi, Van Market, Shekhupuriya Bazaar and Kesra Bazaar with teeming people is the essence of the walled city. It's amazing how much business is conducted in such a limited space. One of the most attractive features of walled city is the Havelis. The living mansions with open courtyard and amazing woodwork and the red bricks. A very few Havelis are well kept, maintained either by private owners or government institutions, including Mubarak Haveli, Chona Mandi Haveli, Nisar Haveli, Haveli of Dhyan Singh, Haveli of Dinanath and Haveli Barud Khana survive.
मेरा शहर है लाहौर, मेरा दिल का एक बहुत बड़ा टुकड़ा है, लेकिन कुछ ऐसी जगह हैं जो आज मैंने डिस्कवर की। इस किले में आके, ये लाहौर फोर्ट है।
मेरे ख्याल में पूरी दुनिया में आपको इस तरह की स्पेस और इस तरह की जगह देखने को नहीं मिलेगी। बट नाउ इसको रिवाइव किया गया है कामरान अशारी साहब ने, लाहौर वॉल्ड सिटी। So I would advise everybody to come and experience it.
हम लोगों ने एक ऐसा एक्सपीरियंस किया है जो कि दुनिया में हर एक को करना चाहिए। सबसे पहले तो लाहौरियों को करना चाहिए, फिर पूरे पाकिस्तान को करना चाहिए, ताकि दुनिया को और फिर उसके बाद बुलाएं और कहें कि ये हमारी तारीख है। 4500 साल पुरानी तारीख इस शहर की इतनी खूबसूरती से दिखा है कि दिल खुश हो गया।
मैं कामरान अशारी साहब और उनकी पूरी टीम को मुबारकबाद पेश करती हूँ, और फोर्ट में रात को और खाना खाना, यहाँ दोस्तों से मिलना और फिर प्लान करना कि आगे क्या करना है, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा, बहुत मजा आया।
I am sure that this beautiful, this very rich living form of culture, we won't let it decline and let it die away.
Common heritage is a common calling of responsibility. Let's stand together, committed to the preservation of our rich heritage and identity.
Our next segment is a painting exhibition by Miss Iram Ashfaq, a well-known artist and the student of Jimmy Engineer, an eminent Pakistani artist. Iram has already exhibited her work in many places around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy the exhibition. also a day to celebrate those Pakistanis who became pioneers of several key industries and services in Pakistan, such as shipping, aviation, IT and software, engineering, infrastructure, development, police services and accounting. Their services were acknowledged by Singapore. They're a great source of strength and pride for us and our own common assets. Let's hear from them their story, the story of Singapore journey from a third world country to a first world country in the little span of 50 years.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Abdul Latif Siddiqui. I came to Singapore in 1989. By profession, I'm a marine engineer, and I started working with Singapore maritime giants like NOL and V Ships. After that, I reached the highest hierarchy within a short period of time. During this period, I facilitated a lot of Pakistanis for the job opportunities in these companies. Which benefits them as an individual. Also, it benefits the country in the form of forex. Soon, I realized that as a employee, I'm not able to do much. I have potential by the grace of Allah to work as an entrepreneur. Thereby, I started Global Radiance. Our annual turnover is about 10 million, which we expect to reach in this year, inshallah, 14 million. We remit more than 6 million to Pakistan as salaries for our seafarers who are working, more than 500 seafarers who are working on our ships. And also we have auxiliary office in Pakistan, which is also providing a lot of job opportunities and also source of remittance for them. It is my passion to provide job because I believe on the philosophy of teach a person how to catch a fish rather than giving a fish. And Alhamdulillah, we are not only just providing the job, we are providing job opportunities for the trainees, for the cadets, internship. Alhamdulillah, I can proudly say that we are working with both the countries very closely, especially Singapore being marine hub and Pakistan now with the CPEC, the Gwadar port. There's a lot of things which Pakistan can learn and can get technologies from Singapore. Unfortunately, now Pakistan, there's a huge gap in the marine sector, and looking at all those things, we don't have the opportunities for our young cadets. 150 cadets are passing out from the Marine Academy, and hardly 10% they are getting the jobs. Singapore is a marine hub, and Pakistan now, considering the CPEC, Gwadar port need a lot of technologies. I believe there's a huge potential that both countries can work together. With present our ambassador, honorable ambassador efforts, I'm sure we will be able to work together in many areas. However, what I can see in Pakistan, there's a huge gap in the shipping sector, in the form of we don't have our own flagships. We have only 10 to 12 ships, and this is not giving enough opportunity for our seafarers to get a job, especially the cadets. 150 cadets are passing out every year, only 10% cadets, they are getting a job. So in this area, we need to really look into it, and the same spirit, I went to meet Honorable Prime Minister and offered him to bring in 50 flagships, Pakistani flagships, with the investment of $2 billion. And Alhamdulillah, meeting was successful, and we are still working on it, and we will, inshallah, we'll see soon some good results in this area. Besides this, we are always supporting on the humanitarian needs, and any call from the Prime Minister. When Prime Minister called for donation for the dam funds, we contributed $100,000 from our group to the dam funds in Pakistan. On this important occasion of Pakistan Resolution Day, I would like to give a message to our youth that they have to work hard, they have to improve on the education, competence, and humility. The market is very competitive, especially after the COVID. If we don't improve it will be very difficult for us to survive. We have to keep our cost low and the performance at the highest level. Inshallah, if we will work, we will make Pakistan as a brand and everybody will enjoy the fruit. I would like to thank also Pakistan High Commission in Singapore for their efforts, and especially the Honorable Ambassador for energizing the Pakistan diaspora in Singapore. Thank you very much. Pakistan Zindabad.
My name is Dr. Shahzad Naseem, and I'm the Executive Chairman of Meinhardt Group, headquartered in Singapore. Singapore in 1972 to study engineering. I was a very young student at that time, and the plan was to come and study engineering and then move on. I in fact got admission both in Singapore and in Cornell, and guess what? I decided to come to Singapore. This was the best decision I made in my life. And again, as you know, with the passage of time, Singapore grows on you, and I too fell in love with Singapore. And now, in fact, I became Singaporean. My son and his next generation are all Singaporean. After graduation, I joined Meinhardt Singapore at the bottom of the food chain as an employee and worked my way up slowly but surely, and I became the CEO of the Meinhardt International in 1997. In 2010, I actually bought the company from the Meinhardt family, and I shifted the headquarters to Singapore, and the rest is history. Actually, turning a third world country into a first world country in such a short span of time is nothing less than a miracle. And the credit really goes to Singapore leadership, who work tirelessly to make Singapore a better place for its people. I mentioned Singapore leaders are very, very hands-on, and therefore you can actually discuss any issues with them, and they are very proactive in solving and addressing issues. And that's a big difference between many other countries and Singapore. Singapore is the business center of the world. So one way to improve and expand the relationship will be to expand the business. Currently, the trade between Singapore and Pakistan is pretty small. The other is to develop people-to-people link. And those links actually develop at the back of business. So this is something which we can, really you guys can work on. Pakistan can also expand its bilateral relationship with Singapore by arranging high-level exchanges, and that really develops the relationship between the leaders. Now, as you probably know, Singapore is known for its educational standards and capacity building in government officials. So I think Pakistan can definitely tap into this expertise of Singapore. The other thing is that embassies play a key role in developing these relationships, and I understand your current ambassador is doing a great job of this. So, that's the way to expand business.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Rishna Zahra Gadezi, and today I would be telling you about what I like about Pakistan. First of all, I love the tourist attractions and the greenery of Pakistan. The amazing nature is filled with wonder and beauty. Secondly, I love the culture of Pakistan. I always enjoy celebrating Eid and other special occasions with my family and friends, as I get to decorate my house and eat delicious food. Lastly, I love the food of Pakistan. I especially love biryani and tikka. And for dessert, I love the delicious gulab jamun. Thank you.
I'm Sajjad Akhtar. I'm the chairman of PKF CAP Singapore and founder partner of this firm. We arrived in Singapore in 1980, which is 41 years ago. And Singapore was in its early stages. It was already the cleanest place on earth, some people thought. And it was in an early stage of perhaps it's a great leap forward that it made from around that time in the next decades to come. Well, I was posted here by international firm called Arthur Andersen, which is an international network of accounting and consulting firms, one of the largest it was. And I was really with them. I was posted actually from UK, from where I went to Iran for a year in Dubai, and then we moved to Singapore, 1980. Over time, it's been very enlightening, I must say. Singapore leadership is in those days when we first came, as you know, Lee Kuan Yew was very much in charge, the Prime Minister. Subsequently, I think he retired somewhere in the 90s when Goh Chok Tong became Prime Minister. So, of course, I didn't know Mr. Lee Kuan Yew personally, or met Goh Chok Tong once or twice, and then Mr. Lee Hsien Loong later on. But of course, I knew a number of ministers in the cabinet and senior people. They are very committed and very long visionary people. When I started this business, 2002, that's our own business. Since 2000, more than 20 years. And I've been, in the initial years, I was a member of various committees. Later on, I became chairman of their finance committee. And I'm still serving to this day as chairman of the finance committee. Was I recognized? Well, I was recognized. I got the Public Service Medal Award in 2009, sitting there. I was awarded the Public Service Star, so which in English, you know, your Public Service Medal is PBM. The Malay equivalent is PBM. And then BBM I was awarded in 2016, which is the Public Service Star, a higher award. So at least, you know, these are recognitions that the government has given me, for which I'm very grateful. Well, I think Singapore is a very pragmatic and objective kind of country. You know, they look at relationships very objectively, very progressively, with a view to having good, honest commercial relationships on a even footing, balanced. But relationship with Pakistan has traditionally been friendly. Pakistan, there's no reason why Pakistan can't be one of the recipients or be on good terms both ways in trade, in terms of trade with Singapore.
I love Pakistan. Pakistan Zindabad. And my favorite food is biryani, and I miss my grandpa.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Dr. Aisha Khanna, and I am CEO of Ado AI, an artificial intelligence consulting firm headquartered in Singapore and Pakistan. So we came to Singapore about 8.5 years ago. I had lived before that in America and briefly in London. My expectation was that it would give me an opportunity to access the Asian market and of course to be closer to Pakistan as well. And absolutely building my company here and taking advantage of Asia's exploding consumer population and growth has been incredibly satisfying. When I moved to Singapore, I decided I wanted to start an AI and data science company that would serve the largest companies in the world, building intelligent data platforms for them. Starting a company in Singapore is very straightforward, and it's easy. Government paperwork is very smooth, and in the first few years as a startup, the government really subsidizes and encourages especially deep tech startups. I have also been lucky enough to be on the board of a few government agencies, and I've been very impressed by the foresight with which the Singapore government plans the digital economy of the country and upskills its citizens to make sure they're prepared for the 21st century. Singapore and Pakistan have a lot to contribute to each other. Many of our wonderful startups in fintech, in logistics, in healthcare can be incorporated here as well so that they can get access to global funding and capital. And I know that the Pakistan Embassy here has been encouraging that and very supportive of that as well. At the same time, Singaporean companies can find a new economy to take its expertise to, especially in smart cities, because this country has really made smart city living accessible, qualitatively better, and also efficient. I think both countries would benefit a great deal by the exchange not only of entrepreneurs and students, but also government-led delegations, so that we can contribute to each other's growth and the friendship and partnership can grow.
Assalamu alaikum. Pakistan बहुत अच्छा लगता है. I love Pakistan. Pakistan and Shidawat.
My name is Munir Shah. I am a mediator with TADEM, which stands for Tripartite Alliance for Dispute Management at the Ministry of Manpower Service Center. And I have been with Shell for about 35 and a half years. And after retiring from Shell, this was an opportunity that came by for me to continue my contribution to this country. My grandfather, Hassan Muhammad Shah, he came to this part of the world in 1910. And in those days, he had to travel from his hometown of Jalandhar in India, because it wasn't partitioned then, via Calcutta and then on to Penang, and then he started working as part of the British Punjab Regiment. And my father was the eldest of 9 siblings, and he was born in Ipoh in Malaya in those days, it was known. My father joined the Singapore police force before the war, and when we say before the war, we mean the Japanese occupation from 1942 to 1949. My father rose to the rank of Superintendent of Police and Assistant Commissioner of Police in an acting capacity in his last days with the Singapore Police Force. His contribution over a span of 36 years saw him move from the officer in charge of the Criminal Investigation Department to the Traffic Police, to the Singapore Police Cadet Corps, to the various detachments in the Singapore Police Force. And it was a very varied experience in which his major contribution in those days, I remember, was the elimination of secret societies, because secret societies was very rampant, and their elimination in running rackets like gambling syndicates and even trying to get protection money from businesses and so on was a major challenge. My father had a parallel importance or contribution to this country, not just in the police force in maintaining law and order, but he was an avid sportsman during his heydays. He was an all-rounder, but his main sports was actually athletics when he was in that pioneering batch of people to join. And because he was good in both studies as well as games, he rose to represent Singapore in rugby, in athletics as well, and he eventually left his mark as the president of the Singapore Rugby Union, where he was president from 1971 to 1975. My father introduced the yellow box that you see in all major roads in Singapore in the early 1970s. We were the first country in Southeast Asia to introduce the yellow box. So even till today, if you go to the police museum in New Phoenix Park, you will see that the legacy that he left was actually in this introduction, which until today is still being used. In the early days, there was almost direct contact with the Prime Minister of this country. My father has received several accolades in the Singapore Police Force, but I think one of the highest national award would be the Public Service Medal that is given to exemplary officers who have served in the various ministries in Singapore. So that would be the highest medal that he would have got. But the recognition, I think, comes by way of the fact that he has been appointed as, like I said earlier on, manager of the Singapore team for rugby and then for athletics to represent Singapore. Those are the kind of, which are given prominent coverage in the newspapers. And that's how people get to notice, and the fact that when he passed away, the Straits Times carried a very very glowing article, I would say, pertaining to his contribution. It's not just the Straits Times, but the other vernacular language papers as well, the New Paper, the Berita Harian in Malay, and even in the Chinese newspaper, Yan He Chabao, as well as the Tamil Murasu. So that kind of coverage, across the spectrum, of publicity in the various publications, local publications, I think is the achievement that is more visible for people to notice.
I love Pakistan because it's the most beautiful country, because my Ami Abu lived there. Long live Pakistan. I love Pakistan and most beautiful country, Pakistan Zindabad.
My name is Anwar Masood Khan. I'm a civilian pilot. I was trained in Pakistan, and I flew for Pakistan International Airline for almost 25 years before I joined Singapore Airline. Now, I joined Singapore Airline in 1973 and retired from there in 1986. After that, when they bought bigger aeroplanes, Boeing 747, I was sent to Seattle, America, for further training. I would like to mention that Singapore Airline was not only dependent on their national pilots. Their policy, as I think in the whole of the country, is such that whoever can contribute anything to them, he is most welcome. It was a pleasure to fly for Singapore Airline because like in any other field, they are very, very efficient country. And Singapore Airline was running very efficiently also. After I retired, they offered me Singapore nationality. They sent me a pack of forms if I would like to apply for nationality, which of course I did not, because I wanted to come back to my own country. But they were quite prepared to give me their nationality. One of the Singaporeans, who happens to be my, in Urdu we call it Samdi, his daughter is married to my son. He went and established their shipping company from the scratch. He was their first managing director. Mr. M.J. Said was very respected by even the Prime Minister of Singapore. When he died, they established a chair in the university in his name. And they used to invite him, after he retired, they used to invite him every year for their anniversary. So, he established that, I think his name is Neptune.
Assalamu alaikum. I love Pakistan because my grandpa lived there. I love Pakistan because my family is there. I love it because I love its beautiful mountains and its lovely landscape. I wish I can go back there soon.
I'm Beru Setna, wife of late Mr. Suri Setna. We came to Singapore in May 1907. Singapore was a very small place. It was considered a third world country but still it was quite well organized. Singapore had its own charm. It was a busy port and shipping. That is why Singapore government wanted to have its own national shipping lines to be able to import and export and do trade with other countries. So that's how in 1969 NOL, a global shipping line, was formed. The first managing director was Mr. M.J. Said, and the chairman was Mr. Hon Sui Sen, who was the finance minister then. He constantly traveled with Mr. Goh Chok Tong to develop business in China and established business relationship with Mr. Y.K. Pal, the shipping tycoon in Hong Kong. He was closely in touch with Mr. Goh Chok Tong all the time until he became the Prime Minister. Even when he became Prime Minister, he would take him in his business delegation to various countries. He traveled with him to Papua New Guinea and places like that. He started out as engineering superintendent, looking after the entire fleet of NOL, and later became senior general manager, chartering division. He actively grew the chartering business. Mr. Michael Wong Pak Chong remarked in 1980, who was the chairman then, that Soli was devoted and dedicated to the cause of NOL. He worked very closely with Mr. Goh Chok Tong after Mr. Goh became the managing director of NOL. He was a consultant to International Factors Marine Private Limited and was a Singapore director in the Baltic and International Maritime Council in Europe. He was a pioneer in setting up of Neptune agencies and was also director of a lot of associated Neptune companies. He passed away on the 19th of August 1988 at the age of 56.
ऐसी ज़मीं और आसमां इनके सिवा जाना कहाँ बढ़ती रहे ये रोशनी चलता रहे ये कारवां दिल दिल पाकिस्तान जा Pakistan दिल दिल पाकिस्तान जा Pakistan.
Ladies and gentlemen, this brings me to the end of today's ceremony. Let us pray for peace, progress, and prosperity for our country and the whole world. Let us seek help from Allah to overcome the pandemic and wish quick recovery to all those suffering from this deadly disease. On behalf of the High Commission of Pakistan, I thank you all for being here today. Long live Pakistan and Singapore friendship. Pakistan Zindabad.